What's up guys, today on Rebels Offroad, we are going to be replacing the ball joints on our Kawasaki KRX. We're taking this opportunity to do some maintenance in between rides, so we're going to be doing some ball joints, some bearings, some brakes, some stuff like that. And so today's episode is going to be the front ball joints. So go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe for more great content. Let's get into it. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is to check the condition of your ball joints. And you can do this a couple different ways, but what I like to do is jack up the machine so that the tires are off the ground like that. Put jack stands under it for safety. And then you want to get on this tire and wiggle it back and forth, push up and down, and see where there's any play. Move it in and out and stuff like that. And if there's any play up and down in the ball joint area, you see the separating of the A-arms and the knuckle, you know those ball joints are worn out. So I'm not seeing much, but we're gonna go ahead and replace them anyways. Also, if there's any in and out play, which there is some there, you can check, and it may be that your wheel bearing is gone. So I'm definitely seeing play when I do this. So we're gonna get the video in here so you can see it, but it looks like there's some play in the ball joints and in here where the wheel bearing is. You can see this area moving, that's from the wheel bearing, and then down in here, the ball joint is flexing. So while you're in here, it is a good idea to go ahead and change out that wheel bearing. We are gonna do that, but we're gonna do that in a separate video. We're waiting on the wheel bearings to come in, so we're just gonna go ahead and address the ball joints first, since we have those, and then we will be putting the wheel bearings in a follow-up video. So these are the tools we're gonna be using for the job. We have some snap ring pliers, a pair of channel locks. This is a 19 millimeter, that's for the other ball joint castle nuts. We have a 17 millimeter. This one is a 1 1/16. This one is a 5/16. Now this is for our Rebel rods. For your stock ones, it's gonna be a different size, but that's what we use for our Rebel rods. It takes a pretty big castle nut. We have a 10 millimeter, of course, and then we have a, what is this? A 14 millimeter. Also have an extension and impact drive, two different types. We like our impacts, our Milwaukee impacts. We got a right angle one and our mid torque one. Then this socket right here is going to be for our ball joint press. I believe this one is, yeah, it's a 22 millimeter. That one is going to be for our ball joint press. Moving over here, talk about our ball joint press. This is our ball joint press. We got this from Harbor Freight, about 55 bucks, something like that, on sale. Really comes in handy, but you can also rent these from any auto store, you know, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, you know, whatever, Advance. You can use their tool borrow program, and I've used that before, and it comes with all these adapters and everything like that to get your ball joints pressed out. And then of course you'll need a BFH. Another thing I would recommend is some bungees to kind of secure stuff out of the way. Also some new cotter pins as well as your new ball joints. So that's about it. And I always seem to forget this, but it goes without saying, you also need a jack stands, and hardware to take off the tires and wheels. In this case, is a 17 millimeter for those nuts to take off the factory wheels. So of course, you gotta get the tire off. To do that, obviously, you already have your machine jacked up and jack stands under it. Take off that tire, and then the next thing you're gonna do is remove the caliper. So there's these two 14 millimeter bolts back here. We're gonna go ahead and remove both of those and slide that caliper out of the way. Put them somewhere safe. You're gonna go ahead and get this pulled out of the way. Next thing you're gonna do is get this cotter pin out for the axle nut. So, pair of pliers. You can notice this is pretty new. We actually just changed out this axle recently. Put a video up where we broke that axle, but that's a new axle. Next, we're gonna go ahead and impact off this nut, and it is a 1 1/16 socket that we're gonna be using. Take that off, and the washer, and this should slide right out. If this doesn't slide out, you can always use a dead blow and hit on the axle a little bit and it'll free it up. Okay, so then this washer here, set that aside as well. All right, so next we're gonna be removing this castle nut on the lower A-arm. There normally is a cotter pin here. Ours got missing when we went to go replace that axle, so we don't have it there, but it's a 19 millimeter castle nut, and so we're gonna go ahead and get that off. I do highly recommend using your cotter pins and using new cotter pins whenever you can. So next you want to take a BFH and hit here on the knuckle. That'll allow the ball joint to free up and the A-arm should drop. There we go. Now look at that. You can feel the play in it up and down, which means that this is worn out. All right, next we're gonna remove this lower shock bolt, and that is gonna be a 17. And what we're gonna do is use our impact and put a pair of pliers on this side. And go ahead and take this off. Now we can go ahead and secure this up and out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and remove the castle nut for our Rebel rods, 1-ton tie rod ends. You can check those out on our webpage if you haven't seen them yet. They're one of the biggest upgrades you can do for Kawasaki steering, but we're gonna go ahead and take out cotter pin there, and then it's a pretty massive bolt here. They are the only ones with the full-size truck outers, fully serviceable, greasable, all that fun stuff. So this is not gonna be your stock tie rod setup, but we are gonna be using 15/16 to go ahead and get that castle nut off, which is the size for our Rebel rod. And then like with the ball joint, we're gonna use the BFH and loosen up that end. And get that out of the way. All right, now we can go ahead and get this axle out of the way. Knuckle up here, kind of secured. We're gonna go ahead and remove this cotter pin here in the upper ball joint there, and go ahead and remove that out. Okay, and this one is also gonna be a 19, but we're gonna go ahead and wait because we're gonna remove this ball joint first. So I don't know if you can see in here, it's kind of dirty, but there is a snap ring right in there, and you need to go ahead and spread that and pull it off before we can remove that ball joint. There you go, and got that snap ring out. All right, so this is the adapter stack up I came up with the Harbor Freight ball joint press, just the basic one. Had to, use what I had. So this little guy is flipped up where the cup is sitting right here. This part is sitting in the cup, and so that's what's making contact with that ball joint. And then this guy is against the knuckle, and then this one is against the pin on the little press doohickey. So I'm thinking that this will get enough, maybe, I don't know, ½ inch or so of movement downward, so then we can put a larger adapter up there and continue to press it out. Let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and try something a little different. And there's the offending ball joint. Now I want to show you the stack up I ended up using, but I ended up using this large nut that was from the axle, and I stuck it up in here, and that was actually enough to close up that gap to push down the ball joint. And so that worked out pretty well. In fact, I'm wondering if the ball joint actually, it probably would have been fine just straight on to there as well. We'll try that on the next one. All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and remove the upper ball joint castle nut. And so we already removed the cotter pin, and we're gonna use this extension with a 19mm socket, go up through the hole at the lower left, and use our impact to go ahead and spin this free. And that one had a washer, so don't lose that. Now there's a little bolt here that holds the brake line on. I believe it's 10mm. We're gonna go ahead and get that off as well. There we go. Got that little bolt out. Get to that in a second. So now we're gonna go ahead and take our BFH again, and we're gonna hit on the knuckle again, and hopefully this ball joint will come free. And there it is. We're gonna go ahead and hang up our A-arm, because that is what it's gonna. Just like on the lower, there is going to be a little snap ring that we're gonna have to remove. So we're gonna try to get that guy loose. Let me get those snap rings. There you go. Got that snap ring out. And now we can set up our ball joint press again. So on this side, you can actually just go straight down with it. This one was actually in a lot better shape, but we're gonna go ahead and replace it anyways. So this is like when you have your friend and you're trying to goad him into, you know, climbing that big hill or hitting that big mud pit or whatever like that. No balls.
Commencing eye roll sequence.
Now, we're basically gonna be doing the opposite for replacing them. I'm gonna go ahead and put that guy in there, and got the ball joint in this little adapter piece, and we're gonna go ahead and stick it up in there. We wanna go ahead and actually tap it and see if we can get it started, because once we get it going, it's gonna be very important that it goes in straight. So check around it, make sure it looks like it's pretty straight in there, and then we're gonna go ahead, run this back down, and drive it home. Now, keep in mind, these OEM joints do not come with any additional hardware. You have to buy that separate. Hang on to your castle nuts, and also it's a good idea to have some spare cotter pins on hand, because we like to replace them whenever we do this job. Get a couple more diggas just for good measure. And that's it. See, it's all pressed up in there, and you can see where the little groove is nice and flush with the part of the A-arm, so that snap ring will go in. So that's what's next. We're gonna get the snap ring in. Here we go, it's nice in the groove. That ball joint's installed. So for this one, it's gonna be a similar thing. Gonna go ahead, line that guy up, give it a couple little taps, get it going. Then we're gonna take a tool, get it all lined up. And then go ahead, run it home. And just like before, we are going to go ahead and check, make sure that groove has enough material exposed so we can get that snap ring on. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that snap ring. Put that guy back on. And that is the ball joint. We're gonna go ahead and get this wheel bearing replaced, but that is how to do the 2 ball joints. All right, so we got 2 fresh ball joints in the knuckle and in the A-arm, all set up, ready to go. We are going to go ahead and replace the bearing, but we're gonna save that for another video. If you're just doing the ball joints and that's the only wear item that you have currently, like you did the bearings already or your ball joint somehow went bad early, this would be the time where you went ahead and put everything back together, and it's basically the exact opposite of how it all went apart. And so you wanna just torque everything down properly. Don't reuse cotter pins wherever you possibly can. You know, get some new cotter pins. They aren't that expensive, and just go ahead and replace them as you torque everything down to spec and put it all together. But yeah, we're not gonna show putting it back together because, I mean, like I said, it's exactly the reverse of putting it all apart. So that's it for today's video. Go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe for more great content. Check out rebelsoffroad.com. I'll post a link down in the description where you can check that out. We have a lot of parts on there, a lot of accessories, a lot of cool tools, stuff like that. You're gonna wanna check it out. So go ahead and do that now, and we'll see you next time.
I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning.